All right, what's up internet? Yoshi here and welcome to the channel. And can we take a moment to talk about how weird Apple's Streaming California Fall 2021 event was? Because it was weird. So to start, they talked about the regular iPad, like the iPad, and that's still a super good value. They got all the nougats, but it's still super cheap, like $300, which is awesome, except for one little detail. It's now the only iPad still using this guy, Lightning. Nothing against Lightning, but this is only USB 2, so data speeds, transfer speeds are kind of slow, like 480 megabits per second. Not even close to even the old USB 3, which is still pretty fast, but also pretty old. But because of that, that also means it's the only iPad that won't use Apple's new Apple Pen, like all the other iPads do, which means you have to charge it by plugging it in like this. Why? Why not just switch all of them to USB-C? Apple, you're stupid. So moving on to the iPad mini, I'm actually a big iPad mini fan, although I only have the iPad mini Gen 2, which I put away a year ago when I got my 2021 Air, and I freaking love it. Everything's awesome except for the price, which they raised like $150 for the base model. But it has all the latest guts. It's got the A15 Bionic. My iPad Air 2021 or 2020 from last year only has the A14 Bionic. Ooh. So that's a great little beginner device, except for most like beginner consumer fun devices that Apple makes are colorful and bright and happy. And in my opinion, all of the iPad mini colors this year are just so dark and dull and boring. That doesn't make sense to me. It is cool that it has center stage though, which I think is a kind of a fun feature for certain projects and applications. Definitely something that this camera, the M1 iMac camera, needs to have. Why didn't they do that? I don't know. That was weird. But that was so, 6 months ago, so whatever. Okay, on to the Apple Watch 7. I don't care about the Apple Watch. I don't care about jewelry at all. As you can see, my wrists are quite naked. But what's weird about that is that, so they shifted up their products. So now they're selling the Series 7, the new one, Series 6, and the Series 3. Still, they're selling the Series 3 as the beginner Apple Watch. Why? Why are Apple, you're so stupid. The same thing with the Apple TV HD. They're still selling the HD the same price that it's been for the past 5, 6, 7 years. Why? Because it's cheap to make in mass and people are still buying them. So moving on to the iPhone 13, they spent a ton of time, an obscene amount of time, bragging about how the notch was made a lot smaller than the iPhone 12 line. So it's a little bit thinner. However, it's not smaller in any meaningful way because you don't get any vertical space back. But then, okay, so they have a little more horizontal space, which in theory sounds great, except for they don't use any of the space. You get the same exact information that you already have, no battery percentage, and there's just a bunch of empty space. So what's the point in making the notch smaller and bragging about it so much when you're not even utilizing it? Stupid. Apple, you're stupid. One thing I'm kind of upset about, that they're still using 12 megapixel cameras. They've been using 12 megapixel sensors for like 6 years now. I'm ready for higher resolution photos. Why not 16 megapixels? Why not 20? Samsung's doing 100 megapixel photos in their cameras. Like, come on Apple, let's go. Now, they are still improving the sensor quality and the low light things and the sensor tilt shift stuff, and they're making the pixels bigger. So they're still 12 megapixels, but each actual individual pixel is a lot bigger, letting more light in, so the photos will still look better technically than last year because of the light situation, but I'm very disappointed. They do now have the cinematic mode, which like blurs the background, which actually is pretty cool, but I'm wondering like who is that feature for? Who's actually going to use that? Because the pro people are going to have their expensive cameras. The normal Joe Schmoes and soccer moms, when are they ever going to use that feature? I don't know. Maybe it's for people like me, like YouTubers, to film product videos, or maybe I can get the selfie camera in here and get that nice blurred effect, so behind me is all nice and blurred. I don't know who that feature's for. It's cool, but I have no idea. Moving on to the Pro models, the 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, they have ProRes, which is actually pretty interesting, but again, who is that feature for? Maybe for people like me, the prosumer, because the pros who have their real cameras, they're not gonna want to use this, record ProRes to super fast SD cards and CFast cards and USB-C. Because again, all of the iPhones are still using Lightning connection, which is USB 2. It's not even USB 3, 3.1, 3.2, it's not USB 4. So how long is it gonna take to get a terabyte of ProRes footage off of this using USB 2? It's so stupid. Just give us USB-C, Apple, you're stupid. Speaking of 1 terabyte, that is very cool that all of the base models got a bump. So now the minimum storage is 128, which is pretty good number even for someone like me. They increased the storage so much, especially for the Pro models, to make use of the ProRes and the cinematic mode and all that stuff. Once people use it and they realize how long it takes to get off their phones, they're not gonna use it ever again because of how slow USB 2 is. And in the entry-level Pro models with the 128 gigs, ProRes is just not even a feature. It's not allowed, it's totally disabled because it's not enough storage for anything. It's kind of funny. I do really like the new 3x zoom. That's pretty dang cool. And then they also have macro photos for the ultra wide, which I think is pretty cool. I do have a macro lens from Moment that I can screw on, and macro lens stuff is cool. Just to have that built in and automatic is very cool. That's pretty much it. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you? Or was it all just hot garbage? Well, let me know in the comments below. Bye.